Hello everyone and welcome to the Mercer County Football Show here on 1490 WBCB and online WBCB1490.com. That's George O'Gorman. I'm Mike Samsel with you every Wednesday here on our website and YouTube channel on WBCB1490.com. And George, it was a bit of a week of upsets last week, led by West Windsor Plainsboro South losing to Steiner.
That was one of the bigger upsets, but of course, not taking anything away from Dan Caruso and the Spartans, losing Brian Schoenauer to that hamstring injury that's been aggravating him all preseason, and didn't seem to bother him in the opening game when he ran for 210 yards. But
right.
You take Brian Schoenauer out of that offense, and it's a different offense. I mean, Andrew Murray, give him credit; he did a nice job. But the Spartans, they bounced back. Maybe Allentown is the #1 team in the CVC, or at least in Mercer County area, even though they're a Monmouth County team. But Jay Graber's Redbirds, I mean, they riddled New Egypt, a traditional rival of theirs because it's a neighboring school. But be an interesting matchup this week when you have Allentown hosting Hamilton on Saturday morning. And the Hornets didn't look bad, but they've got to be a little more consistent on offense. Their defense is pretty good, but I'll tell you what, with Palladino throwing the ball and Norman Williams running the ball, Allentown has a nice package there. It's going to be interesting in a couple of weeks when they go against Notre Dame, because the Irish look, you could tell they were a little rusty having that late start, but they did a couple of nice things. Nico Sfero ran well, and Rob Coven threw the ball well, and so it's interesting. Yeah, but there were some good upsets. And how about Lawrence? Lawrence nearly pulls off the upset.
That would have been a big one.
Leading 14-0 over the Flashes down in Florence. But Rob Radis's kids are still a little young. Samai Mitchell continues to run big yards against everybody. And, Nottingham had I guess you could say, a rather workmanlike performance in their win over Trenton, which still, with a lot of offensive weapons, Trenton continues to struggle to score points. But Joe Misnick, give Joe credit, he took over under adverse conditions and really only had a couple days with the kids, although he had been an assistant there.
Right.
But, another good win, I guess you would classify it as an upset, was Robbinsville's big win down in Burlington City.
Absolutely,
That was a game that was, that was postponed from Friday night for some strange reason. They had trouble with the lights at Wilbur Watts Field right there on Route 130. And, Wilbur Watts Field, that's one of the first places I ever went to see a night football game back in the 60s. And I don't understand what the problem was with the lights. But anyway, Jordan Gray's team, the Robbinsville Ravens, really a nice performance. They lost their opening game, right? Was it the Bordentown?
Yeah.
But I think they come back. They have Delran, I think, this week, or if I'm not mistaken, or is it Cinnaminson? But at any rate, it should be a good performance. And Pete Brush's Hightstown Rams got a great performance from Dustin Coleman, their quarterback. 2 for 2, ran for 1. They got a nice ball club, and they're having a big test this week. And I'm not sure. I heard it was Friday night under the lights, the new lights at Hopewell Valley. But at any rate, whether it's Friday night or Saturday afternoon, Hightstown Hopewell should be a very interesting game.
That it should. And the Mercer County Football Show is being brought to you by St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton, and Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. I would say the big story from last week, other than Steiner winning, was that injury to Brian Schoenauer, ending his streak of 19 consecutive games over 100 yards. Went for 8 rushes, 29 yards, but was out about early in the second quarter. And from there, Andrew Murray took over, had a tremendous performance, but it just wasn't enough, and it shows you what a weapon Schoenauer is.
Well, we've known that for the last couple of years. And
absolutely.
He's had a lot of people around him where they could throw the ball, and but give credit to Steiner. Steiner bounced back. I got to wonder if Dan Caruso during practice last week really lit into his players, because although we know Allentown's very good, I think Steiner had to be a little bit depressed and deflated after that performance that they put on opening night over at Allentown. But Spartans coming back, we'll see how they fare this week, because now they go against another undefeated team. It'll be the 3rd straight week that they're playing actually the 2nd straight week, but they're hosting Nottingham, and John Adams and the North Stars, that's the big Clockner Road rivalry, and that always seems to, at least for the last couple of years, has really been a great performance, and by both sides.
Yeah.
So will it be interesting to see how how the Spartans can handle Rawway Williams and his and Stephen Adams' passing. So it'll be an interesting matchup. That's 11 o'clock on Saturday morning.
Yeah, that one will actually be on the WBCB Sports Network as well, on 1490 AM and 1490 WBCB. Allentown, big win, 42-0 over New Egypt. Ewing, 22-0 over Pemberton. And after Ewing's week 1, that's got to be a nice win for them as well.
Drew Bessler did an excellent job with that with the Ewing Blue Devils, and that's 2 good wins. And of course they're in that little division down there. Not little, but I mean that division where I think the only other team from Mercer County in it with them, I think, is Robbinsville.
Yeah.
That was an excellent performance on the part of the Ewing Blue Devils to get that first win for Drew Bessler in only his 2nd game. And that opening loss to Delran certainly was. You look at it now. I mean, we knew Delran's always traditionally a strong power down in the Burlington County area, and last week they handled Holy Cross fairly well. Ewing has Holy Cross this week.
Ewing does have Holy Cross this week. That's one of the games we'll be previewing. Coming up in the next segment, a couple other scores. One we already talked about, 38-12, Hightstown over Princeton. Nottingham, 21-0 over Trenton. Now, we know Trenton was playing under some adverse conditions, but still worth noting, Nottingham hasn't given up a touchdown all season. Haven't even given up a point yet.
That's right. 2 back-to-back shutouts for Frank Gatto's defensive crew there. And what we mentioned them last week with that excellent linebacking core that they've got. And, of course, this week, Brian Pellegrino goes back to Spartan land where he had played for the last couple of years and left under, I don't know, I mean, I spoke to him and he wasn't too happy. He said he felt that he didn't really, just didn't get a lot of playing time or whatever the situation was. But Ryan Pellegrino will be back there to help lead a excellent North Star defense that also includes Devin Thompson and McGovern Gabriel. Yeah. The excellent linebackers and their big defensive tackles. And so it's going to be an interesting battle there to Nottingham and Steiner. I've always had some great games. I've seen a few of them. And this week should be another in a long installment of Nottingham, Steiner, Klockner Road battles.
You know, George, one thing I always want to see in Hamilton Township is, I understand maybe it'll be a tick expensive to light all 3, but at least maybe a neutral field site where we can light one of the fields and have those Hamilton Township rivalries played at a neutral site.
Years ago, there was a guy, forget his name now, but he always used to tell me he was pushing to get a neutral lighted turf field installed at Hamilton Veterans Park.
How great would that be?
And he said it would be great for the township. They could share it. They could play a Friday night game. They could play maybe a Saturday morning game, play a Saturday night game. They could do it in soccer. They could do it in football. It never came about. And Hamilton Township, you know, everybody in Mercer County is pretty much getting lights now. Yeah. I mean, Hopewell Valley's going to have lights installed, if not this week, I think, right down the road. Right. I mean, there's like 9 schools now in the CVC that have lighted football fields. The 3 in Hamilton don't have any. Yeah. And I mean, one lighted all-purpose field, look at the money that these schools could save, especially, you know, a couple of years ago they tried to get an all-purpose field put in at Hamilton West, which probably of the 3 Hamilton schools needed it most, because they're really, their complex is very small when you stop and consider it. But for some reason they lumped it all together with a project, a multi-million-dollar project to install windows and everything. A lot of the senior citizens, what did the newspaper play up? They're going to get a turf football field. Well, the senior citizens said, what, turf football field? But they didn't understand the money that you save, the upkeep of the field. Right. You put a turf field in, it lasts for 12 years, 10 to 12 years. You don't have to cut grass. You don't have to paint lines. I mean, it lasts for, you know, all you do is just brush it up with like a Zamboni machine. Absolutely, yeah. And you can play there. You save the money on upkeep. You save the money on maintenance. You save the money on transporting your team to other places to go practice. Right. But it got shot down because I don't think it was handled properly. I was told, you know, I mentioned it to a couple of administrators, why didn't they do it the proper way? And they said, well, it was handled by some North Jersey marketing group that, which they had no concept at all of what was going on in Mercer County. Right. But the Hornets, more than anybody, probably should have had a turf field first, and then probably because they're short on area now. Nottingham maybe after that. Nottingham for a while was playing their soccer games at Mercer County Park because their soccer fields were beat up, and their football field, fortunately, is in good shape. They've got They've got all. One thing you got to give them is they got all three. Steiner, Nottingham, and Hamilton have nice press boxes.
That they absolutely do. And don't get me wrong, they do take great care of their complexes in Hamilton Township. But just like you said, the Veterans Park concept, I think that would be great to just have one neutral site where each team can get a couple of home games there. You play all the neutral site games there and get some of the Friday night lights in the Hamilton Township. I mean, how great would this Nottingham Steiner game be under the lights?
With the economy the way it is now, it's going to be tough to get something like that approved. But they had the opportunity. I guess it was 20 years ago. And I forget the guy's name. I know he worked at Cedar Gardens, the old Cedar Gardens restaurant. I know his name was Joe. I forget, Italian guy. He was a good friend, and but it's been a while, and his last name slips my mind. But he was always proposing that. I mean, this is before a lot of other places ever got lights or turf fields.
Some of the other games in Mercer County we want to go over for you, as we talked about a little earlier. Joe Frappoli's Florence Flashes 21-14 over Lawrence. 25-16, Notre Dame defeated Hamilton, Georgia in a game that you and I did. Notre Dame down in the third quarter in that game, 16-6, and then rallied back and played very well in the late third quarter and through the fourth.
Well, you got to wonder what would have happened if the 95-yard interception return was allowed. Was called back. It was negated by a defensive holding penalty, which that was the only explanation that we got up in the press box.
Got an opportunity to actually talk to Coach Hoagland after the game.
A couple of the referees going down to the field after the game, and they said that they questioned the call too, and then they realized that it was holding. I guess what they did was they held up the tight end, who I guess or the receiver that the ball was intended for, and that allowed him to come up with the interception. And Hoagland, we wondered during the game, because Tom Hoagland went out there, I guess got an explanation and really didn't complain at all. That changed the complexion of the game.
It absolutely did, and I was actually talking to Tom Hoagland post-game, and he said what had happened was one of his defensive ends one of his linebackers had jammed the tight end coming off the line of scrimmage, and it was a hold, illegal contact, whatever exactly the call was. But that's what the penalty was, and Coach Hoagland was saying, I can't be mad because I teach my guys to play tough, and that's what that was. It was a tough football play that just happened to get called.
Well, then I think it deflated the Hornets a little bit, and then things went Notre Dame's way, and they got a couple of big plays there. As we said, Nikos Farah, running well, and Lorenzo Bryan had a couple of big runs, especially when the Irish were trying to get in position to run out the clock there. He picked up a couple of big gains down to the sideline right in front of the Hornet bench. So that was an interesting game, and a good performance on the part of the Irish, who did start a lot of underclassmen, including a quarterback. And but Coven played well. I mean, he threw the ball well, set up in the pocket, looked poised.
28-7, Hopewell Valley defeated West Windsor Plainsboro North. Robbinsville over Burlington City, 34-3. And George, one score not really from our area, it just felt like mentioning. Washington Township 2, Winslow Township nothing.
Every year, pretty much, you come out with an unusual score out of that. That's a WJFL too, but it's another division. But Washington Township and Winslow, they're two of the more perennial powers down in that South Jersey area. That's deeper South Jersey. And since they don't play anybody in the CVC, Mercer County teams, we don't really get a good barometer on how they are. But I mean, we know just from seeing ratings and things like that over the years, Washington Township, Winslow, those teams down here, Cherokee, the Cherry Hill schools, they're always very good. And then outside of the WJFL, you've got schools like Haddonfield and Delsea. They're always good down there. Gateway Regional. There's a lot of good football played down there, and some people would say that that's maybe some of the best football played in the state of New Jersey, although the North Jersey schools will argue that point.
Right. Just want to update you on some of the West Jersey Football League standings. The Colonial Division ran Cocos Valley on top, 1-0 in the league, 1-0 overall. Also, West Windsor Plainsboro South is at 1-1 on the season, 1-0 in the division. Notre Dame 1-0. They don't have a division game yet. Trenton 0-2, 0-1 in the division. West Windsor Plainsboro North 0-2 and 0-1 in the Patriot League. For that particular one, Princeton is tied for first place at 1-0 in the league, 1-1 overall. And down in the Valley Division, things are led by Hopewell Valley, who are 2-0 on the year, 1-0 in the division. Same goes for Allentown. Nottingham 2-0 on the year, but they've yet to play a division game. When we come back here on the Mercer County Football Show, we'll take a preview of things coming up next week in Mercer County. The Mercer County Football Show is being brought to you by St. Francis Medical Center, the Heart Hospital in the city of Trenton, and also Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. Back right after this.
I'm Jerry Jablonowski, President and Chief Executive Officer of St. Francis Medical Center. For over 137 years, St. Francis has remained committed to the people of Trenton, living out our mission to be a transforming, healing presence in the communities we serve by delivering top-quality health care to all in a personal and compassionate manner. We have continually expanded our services to meet the changing healthcare needs of our city. Despite the hospital changes taking place in Trenton, St. Francis will continue to be here, providing all the residents of Trenton with access to top-quality health care, both at our hospital and within your communities where you live and work. Our renowned services in cardiac care, cancer treatment, and stroke care, in addition to our newly designed comprehensive care of chronic diseases, will continue to provide Trenton with the best in healthcare services. Our emergency room is always open for your immediate needs in times of medical crisis. St. Francis Medical Center will be here so you'll be well.
The Trentonian presents Philadelphia Eagles Football Frenzy. You could win the grand prize to see the Eagles play Dallas in Dallas on December 2nd. Get your copy of the Daily Trentonian to register. Enter between now and September 30th for your chance to win. Every Sunday, the Trentonian is giving out a $100 gift card, a 2-night hotel package for two with your choice of a regular season Eagles game, and on October 7th, the grand prize will be announced. A flyaway package to Dallas to see the Eagles take on the Cowboys December 2nd with 2-night hotel accommodations. For entry rules, check the Daily Trentonian and enter as often as you like in the Trentonian or online at Trentonian.com. It's the Philadelphia Football Frenzy from the Trentonian, the only local paper serving both Bucks and Mercer counties.
Back here on the Mercer County Football Show, 1490 WBCB online, WBCB1490.com, although I guess it would only be online on WBCB1490.com because it's kind of difficult to see on the radio. That's George O'Gorman. I'm Mike Samsel, Mercer County Football Show presented by St. Francis Medical Center, the Heart Hospital in the city of Trenton, and also Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. Coming up in just a bit, we'll have our third installment of Ask Oj. If you have any questions that you'd like to do for that, you can email me, msamsel, S-A-M-S-E-L, at WBCB1490.com. Don't forget also you can follow the WBCB Sports Network on Twitter, twitter.com at WBCB Sports. Only 3 Friday night games, kind of a light slate in Mercer County on Friday night. I would say probably the number one game we would see would be Palmyra at Florence. And we also have Holy Cross and Ewing, and Robbinsville and Cinnaminson.
Yeah, but we got to check that out because, like I said, Pete Brescia told me that they were playing, Hightstown is playing Hopewell Valley. He told me it was a Friday night game.
Right.
Now, Hopewell Valley has it listed as a Friday night game on their homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on the Hightstown website, it still has the game listed for 1 o'clock on Saturday. Now,
that's the listing that I saw was 1 o'clock Saturday.
The problem is that some of these athletic directors don't bother to update their schedule, and I haven't gotten any word that the game has been changed to a Friday night, but I mean, if one of the coaches says it's a Friday night game, I think it was all contingent on whether Hopewell Valley was going to get its lights on its new field.
Correct.
And they've got, I think, a new field that's out behind the where the baseball field is. At least that's what I've been told. I haven't been up to Hopewell yet this season.
Mm-hmm.
But Dave Caldwell's club is really, doing an outstanding job. And at any rate, whether it's Friday night or Saturday, that Hightstown Hopewell game should be a very, very interesting game.
Sure will, yeah.
So a big chance for the Hopewell Valley Bulldogs to take another step, and that's a program that's made tremendous strides under Dave Caldwell the last couple of years. Just hasn't been able to get to the playoffs.
Right.
They always seem to get edged out, but
got a pretty good shot this year.
They do have an excellent shot this year.
So that'll certainly be an interesting game to keep an eye on. I wouldn't call it a must-win for Hopewell Valley, but it would be a good kind of measuring stick for them to announce that they've arrived.
Well, I think they were arrived. I think they gave indications of that when they knocked off Hamilton on opening day.
Right.
Now, I know Chappie mentioned last week at the TD Club that he thought maybe Hamilton was looking past, that game against Hopewell Valley to his game last week. And, of course, Tom Hogan disputed that. And the Hornets did play well. Like I said, not having seen Hopewell Valley yet, and we've mentioned it several times, they did suffer some big graduation losses, but they've got a real nice package, offensive package in there, and this will be a step, another big positive step if the Bulldogs can knock off Hightstown. Hightstown, after getting shut out in that opening game against Nottingham, when Dustin Crowman was sacked, I think 7 times, bounced back big last week against Princeton. I think they just kind of wore down Princeton.
Right.
And but this is another big step for Pete Bresh's Rams if they can go into Pennington and knock off Hopewell Valley.
Absolutely. That'll be a game to keep an eye on, and I actually like Hopewell Valley to get the win in that one.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I like Hopewell Valley. Last week they handled a West Windsor North team that's still struggling without Josh Bloom, and Chris Casamento's club really hasn't put it all together yet. But they're a dangerous ball club. I think that they've got Trenton Saturday.
Correct. Yes, that's another game we'll preview coming up in just a bit. Another one of the Friday night games, Robbinsville at Cinnaminson. Robbinsville starting to get things together a little bit this week as well.
Yeah, Robbinsville's Jordan Gray does an excellent job over there. To stop and think about it. I mean, there's a team that I think their first varsity season a couple of years ago made it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think they got bounced by Asbury Park, which, if I'm not mistaken, went on to win. Asbury Park is the defending Central Jersey Group 1 champ.
Right.
But, that's a big win, and, for Robbinsville. And, they lost their opening game to Bordentown. And they bounced back last week big over Burlington City. I think held them to a field goal.
Yeah.
So was that the game? I think Eric Alston, Kyle Alston had. I think he's one of the players who was honored this week by the 12th Man Touchdown Club at the as a Player of the Week. I think he averaged 46 yards punting. I think he had a long touchdown run. I think he had an interception or knocked a couple of passes down. I forget what it was now, but he did an excellent performance, and that's kind of what the Ravens need, because they lost some good people to graduation, but maybe Jordan Gray's club is bouncing back strong, and maybe Robbinsville has reached the point that they don't rebuild, they just reload. Yeah,
absolutely, and I really like the Ravens this week against Cinnaminson. I think it's going to be an interesting game. Cinnaminson comes into this game at 1-1, 1-0 on the season. Robbinsville 1-1, and they need that league win.
They definitely do need that league win. This would be. This could really be a big momentum builder for the Ravens, who still have a tough schedule. That's a well-balanced division there in the West Jersey Football League.
That's the Liberty Division. Another battle from the Colonial Division? No, that would be from another Liberty Division, actually. Ewing and Holy Cross on Friday night in Ewing.
Nigel Williams had a great performance last week for Drew Bessler's Blue Devils. Threw the ball all over the place. Still a little concerned about Ewing's run game, but they play good defense. That was a big win over Pemberton, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, yeah.
And that's 2 weeks in a row that Pemberton lost to a Mercer County team, had lost the week before to Lawrence, and now they've got that loss to Ewing. But if Ewing can come up with some receivers, Siobhan, I forget his last name now, the receiver that's one of the faster guys in Mercer County.
Right.
He's another kid that if Ewing can throw the ball to him, because Nigel Williams, he can definitely throw the ball.
Yeah, that he can. I like the Blue Devils to get the victory in that game, go to 2-1 on the year, which that would be pretty big.
Well, Holy Cross lost a rather tight game last week. I think it was within a touchdown to Burlington Township.
Right.
And the Lancers have been a team that's been to the playoffs in the non-public or parochial. I guess they're down to non-public Group 2 now. Right. But they were a team that for a long time threw the ball all over the place, set a lot of South Jersey records in passing. And the Lancers have kind of dropped off, and that would be a very good win for Ewing if they can put it together and come out with a big victory over Holy Cross this week. But I'm not positive they can do it.
Sure, it sure would, but it would drop Holy Cross to 0-3 on the year as well. So that would, they're going to be fighting for a win as well. Moving on to the action we have Saturday in Mercer County, and quite the slate. in Mercer County. Starting on WBCB 1490 and WBCB1490.com, Nottingham at Steinert will be the first game we'll take a look at this week. And Nottingham still hasn't allowed an offensive touchdown. Steinert struggling a little bit on offense. That's usually not a very good combination.
Look, Steinert did enough last week to get a win.
That's true.
Over Allentown.
That's absolutely true.
So whatever Dan Caruso's doing with his offense over there, you got to give them credit. And
John Zim certainly looked more settled in that second half.
He
as
did.
well.
And remember last week, it was the first game that Zim had started at quarterback in his career, and he did a good job. And under the lights, opening night, a lot of factors entered into that.
Right.
And so you can't discount that loss, but the Spartans, to their credit, bounced back in a real big way. Jeff Matinelli, I think, had a touchdown or two. Mm-hmm. He's a quality receiver. Vanell Deuces had a game-winning touchdown. This will be if they can give Zim some protection, he's got the receivers to throw the ball to. And of course, there's always the ever dangerous Eddie Ashley,
right,
in the secondary, and also returning punts and kicks. So, I don't know if Steinert has a running back that can match up with Rawway Williams, who sometimes looks like a man among boys.
Right.
Even though he's only a junior or sophomore, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a real powerful runner. That's a toss-up. I'll go with the Spartans to pull off another upset in a row, 2 weeks in a row.
I'm actually going to go with the North Stars in this one. I just think Frank Gatto's defense is going to be a bit too tough. Now we move on. West Windsor, Plainsboro South, they're going to be looking to bounce back, and it'll be at the hands of Princeton.
Yeah, Princeton, Zach DeGregorio, not a bad quarterback. He's got a couple of good receivers.
Yeah.
Will Harrison, I think, is one of the key running backs for that Little Tigers team. They jumped out well early. They had two opportunities inside the 5-yard line, one of them at the end of the first half, where if they could have punched it in, they would have been able to go into the locker room, I think maybe with a lead there. But that Rams defense, led by guys like Jude Brenya and Joey DeCristofaro, that's an excellent defense. And
sure is, yeah.
Block is another kid on there. I forget his first name now. But he's another kid on defense. And, of course, you got quality backs. I mean, you've got Kevin Lennart and Max Cutler. And Krollman's got some good receivers he can throw the ball to. So this is a good Hightstown team.
Yeah, it sure is. And they handled Princeton pretty well last week. I think with or without Shane Howard, though, I think South is just going to be a bit too powerful for Princeton.
I tend to believe that. And, of course, this will be Princeton's second game because they opened up beating Northern Burlington.
Correct.
Which Northern Burlington bounced back with a big win. And I think that South, maybe they'll win it, they'll control the line.
Right.
With guys like Diego Coutinho and Mitch the guy and Eric Davis,
the big left tackle, yeah.
So I think that they can run the ball, and if they're able to run the ball, what's the quarterback? Malik Fuller?
Malik Fuller, correct.
Malik Fuller, he'll throw occasionally, but they'll primarily be a running team, so that should be a very interesting game. But I think it may be closer than some people think it's going to be. Mm-hmm. But I'll stick with with Todd Smith and the West Windsor Pirates to bounce back with a big win.
Another interesting game, revenge game that we're going to have for you on 107.7 The Bronx and 107.7thebronx.com. George, you and I did the game last year where Deshaun Jones caught a Hail Mary on the last play of the game to win it for Rancocas Valley. Now this time Notre Dame heads into Burlington.
I was thinking about that. The Irish lost 5 games last year. Mm-hmm. I think the one that really sticks in their craw is that loss to Rancocas Valley over there at Monsignor Nolan Stadium. Mm-hmm. The Irish thought they had that game won. And remember there was an unusual call where they put time back on the clock?
Right.
And the Irish weren't, I guess, had lost their focus.
They were off the field by that point.
Yeah, they were off the field, had to go back on the field and really let Deshaun go down the sideline, and nobody really covered him.
Yeah.
And he was able to get a pass off under a big rush. And, I mean, that really shocked the Irish, and I think that's one that they'd love to have back. Both teams come in 1-0. Rancocas Valley having beating West Windsor North. Mm-hmm. Last week, Notre Dame beating up on Hamilton. The Irish had their bye, I guess you would call it, the first week.
Right.
Rancocas Valley had their bye last week.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see how Rancocas Valley, this will be their first really major test. I think they handled West Windsor North rather handily, I think, like we thought they would. But they're a strange ball club sometimes, RFE. You know, we've seen them do some good things. We've seen them, you know, struggle at times against teams that they should beat. That is going to be a very good game, and I know you'll be doing it, right?
Yeah, I'll be on the call that one. Yep.
Broadcast game on it's on BCB this week, isn't it?
That one's on 107.7.
107.7 the Bronx.
BCB will have Nottingham and Steinert.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, it should be a couple good matchups there. And, you know, really, when you look at it, a lot of the games are evenly balanced. We've got the West Windsor-Trenton game, two winless teams, two 0-2 teams that have had trouble scoring. That's an interesting matchup. You know, it's over there at Bill Harvin Stadium over at Trenton.
Correct.
I kind of like the Tornadoes in that game. I think that they can, you know, put things together and really. Ryan Wharton is an excellent back. I guess he may have been injured last week. I really didn't check into that because I didn't see his name in the stats.
Right.
But he's he can run the ball, and they can throw the ball. Obviously, if we mention every week with the speedy receivers that they've got, the best 440-meter runner in the state in Zaire Clemens, and if they can give him a little bit of time against Chris Casamento's defense, I think that Trenton can throw the ball on them.
Last game we'll take a look at here in Mercer County. No rest for the weary when it comes to Hamilton. This week they welcome Jay Craver's Allentown Redbirds.
That game is at Allentown, isn't it?
No, that game's actually at Hamilton.
Is it at Hamilton?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's another one that I saw a discrepancy in the schedule. I saw it listed as a morning game over at Allentown. But it does, no, well, I guess you're right, because Hamilton does like to play their games at 11 o'clock.
Right.
That's right. If it was at Allentown, they would be playing at night. But at any rate, I just think that the fact that Bakoven and the Irish were able to throw the ball on Hamilton last week, and now you've got Nick Palladino who can throw the ball probably even better than Bakoven did last week. Not taking anything away from Rob Bakoven, but that was his first varsity start.
Right.
Whereas Nick Palladino had a full season of you know, quarterbacking experience under his belt. So I kind of like the Redbirds. Jay Graber's doing an excellent job, and you know, we knew Jay Graber was had a great football mind,
right, when
he was quarterbacking at Notre Dame for 3 years, and he's showing that he's got an excellent coaching mind. And you know, it's a shame they lost that game in overtime last year in the playoffs to Neptune, which then went on to win the Central Jersey Group 3.
Or who knows? We could have been doing an Allentown Steinert State final.
Yep, we could have very well been doing that, and. I guess then the Redbirds, I think they ended up losing their last game. It was a makeup game that they had to postpone with Northern Burlington.
Correct, yeah.
But, no, I like Allentown, and I think the more people get to see Allentown, the more they're going to be impressed with what Jay Graber's doing. And I'm going to go with, I like the Redbirds to knock off Hamilton this week.
I like the Redbirds to knock off Hamilton this week, too, but I think this is going to be a close game. I think Tom Hoagland's Hornets are definitely going to come out angry.
I agree with you. There's no question it's going to be a close game. There's a lot of close games on the schedule.
Yeah.
Even ones that you think... You look at the game, like we said, West Windsor North and Trenton, the two 0-2 teams. That has the makings of a very close game. Maybe even a game that might go to overtime. Who knows?
And a great way to keep up on everything that's going on, especially that great slate that they're going to have in Mercer County on Saturday. We're also seen on the Trentonian.com, and you can go to the Trentonian.com chat, and George and all the reporters throughout Mercer County are updating you. The editor over there at the Trentonian, Matt Osborne, does a great job keeping things updated in that chat. And I know the chat is always something I have up while I'm doing a game and try and give an out-of-town scoreboard. So the guys just do a great job with that on Trentonian.com. You can follow all the action while you're listening to the games on the WBCB Sports Network. Last thing before we wrap up here on the Mercer County Football Show, it's always
one game.
Okay, go ahead.
One game we can't ignore Rob Radiss's Lawrence Cardinals.
All right, yeah.
They've got a big test coming up this week when they take on Burlington Township.
Yeah.
And as we said, Burlington Township just knocked off Holy Cross. Burlington Township is a perennial power down there in the Burlington County area. And that's another big test for the, I guess it's, Lawrence hasn't played a Mercer County team yet. They opened up with a win at Pemberton.
Right.
They went to Florence and led until late in the game when Florence had a rally, I guess with a couple of touchdowns in the second half to pull that one out. Now they got a game against Burlington Township. I guess it'll be their first home game for Rob Radis and the Cardinals.
Right.
And with Samai Mitchell running the ball, Nick Falkenberg throwing the ball, extremely well. They've got a nice package over there. And Samai Mitchell, last year he was he broke in with, I think, an 800, 900 yards freshman year.
Right.
And then last season he was kind of the understudy to. Slips my mind right now. He went on to run for 1,000 yards.
Right.
But now it's the Samai Mitchell show, and with Falkenberg able to complement him with some good passing, I would not be a bit surprised. And you got to be impressed with the defense that Anthony Amarada has put together again.
Right.
He seems to do it every year. Underrated defensive coach, and I kind of like the Cardinals to do a number on Burlington Township this week.
Yeah, I'm actually with you on that one, George.
11 o'clock Saturday morning over at Cardinal Field.
Yeah, I do like Lawrence in that game as well. I think that should be a very interesting game and a good opportunity for Lawrence to go to 2-1 on the year. Now we're heading to what is quickly becoming my favorite segment here on the Mercer County Football Show, Ask Oj. George, for this particular week, we'll stay here in Mercer County for this season and say, give us your 5 best players this year in Mercer County. The Player of the Year watch, kind of some early contenders.
In any specific order?
No, just 5 guys that you like out there this year. I would say Brian Schoenhauer and Samai Mitchell are probably 2 on that list.
Hopefully Brian Schoenhauer will get back quickly.
Right.
Because, you hate to be able to miss the, his talent on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But other guys that you got to really be impressed with are guys like Zach Tharp over at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
A two-way performer who's done an excellent job for them. Rawway Williams. Williams from Nottingham does an excellent job as a running back. They've kind of stayed away from him. He hasn't really gotten the ball as much as he probably,
Alex Santiago playing well this year for Nottingham.
Santiago's doing well, but I think it's because most of the defenses at least have been keying on Rawway Williams, and he's kind of been like the understudy. Well, not the understudy, but he's kind of been like the second guy to Santiago. Not to say that he is not as good as Santiago. I think Rawway Williams is one of the best in Mercer County.
Thunder and lightning combination they have over there.
Although they've been probably using lightning a little bit more than thunder.
Yeah. And other than Rawway Williams and Alex Santiago, who've had a great year at Nottingham, I know you're a big Jeff Mattinelli fan as well.
Oh yeah, you got to like Jeff Mattinelli with what he showed last year, especially in Steiner's run to the playoffs, through the playoffs. And he's complemented again by Vanel Deuces, who's a quality receiver. That gives them 2 good targets to throw to. If they can just get a little bit more of a running game going, the Spartans have a lot of balance, can get a lot of balance on offense. Other guys that I've been impressed with in the first couple of weeks, of course, Jude Brenya, the outstanding two-way lineman over there for Pete Precious Hightstown Rams.
Yeah.
Jude has already committed to go to ODU. He got some big offers coming through from, I guess, some mid-major schools, you could call them.
Right. Still Division I, though.
Still Division I, and there's a kid who only has played football a couple of years. Excellent track man is in the weight throws. But Jude Brenya, I think he might have 4 or 5 sacks already in his first 2 games. And I know he's really a quality lineman. And another guy that I saw the other night when I saw that Hightstown Princeton game was Callahan O'Meara.
Right.
And I remember the reason his name stuck out was that I remember watching his sister Logan play for a couple of years for Princeton's girls soccer team, and Callahan's her younger brother, and he punts. He had a good punting average. He's a good receiver. I think he's a defensive back. I think he may have had an interception on a ball that was tipped. Princeton had opportunities early, but it came away with a field goal. And he, like I said, he kicks.
Yeah.
He's got some distance. So Callahan O'Meara is another guy to watch. Nigel Williams, the quarterback over there at Ewing, and of course, he can put the ball in the air. We mentioned Samai Mitchell, Sherman Riggins. Okay. Sherman Riggins from the Lawrence Cardinals is a player that bears watching. Nick Falkenberg, haven't really seen enough of Nick Falkenberg, but last year the Cardinals struggled, but Nick Falkenberg is stepping up big. Trying to think of a couple of more. Hamilton, it's still a little bit early for me to, nobody.
But if Ruben Desane has the game that he had last week.
Ruben Desane really ran well. I was impressed with Ruben Desane.
Yeah.
And the way he ran that ball. And as I mentioned, of course, Notre Dame with Prince Patterson in the secondary, Nick Tharp, I know, what did you ask for, 5 guys?
Yeah.
That's probably a lot more than and, you know, I mean, it's just everybody really has a standout player. Kyle Alston, as I said, from Robbinsville.
Yeah, from Robbinsville.
I mean, there's some real quality players. Nick Palladino and Norman
Frank
Williams.
Juba on defense.
Frank Juba on defense over there at Allentown. I mean, that's, like I said, Jay Graber, I'm very, very impressed with what Jay Graber has done.
Yeah, that'll just about do it for the Mercer County Football Show here on WBCB1490.com. Also, those of you watching us on Trentonian.com, a big thanks as well. Thanks to Bill Redner, Matt Miro, Matt Osborne for helping us out on today's broadcast. That's George O'Gorman. I'm Mike Samsel. We'll be back next Wednesday and every Wednesday during the football season here on WBCB1490.com. Good evening, everyone.